They should be very concerned, Skip Bayless. There's no doubt about it. They're in a world of trouble. As far as I'm concerned, if they don't win game 2, they will get swept. And if they don't win, if they don't steal one in Indiana, assuming they win game 2, this series will be over in 6 games. The Indiana Pacers legitimately and deservedly so should be the favorites in this series. The basketball expert in me tells you that. The emotional New York Knicks fan is the one that would sit there and say, I'd pick the Knicks in 7 games because a 7-game series would mean a 7th game at Madison Square Garden where the New York Knicks would get favorable calls. Roy Hibbert and those boys ain't going to get that kind of call, and ultimately it would lead to them. But the basketball analyst in me will tell you in a heartbeat that the Indiana Pacers should win this series of 6 games. They're simply bigger. They're stronger. They're more physical. They have more big, able, younger bodies. And it's going to be a challenge for the New York Knicks. Now, obviously, the New York Knicks have a chance to win this series because it's almost like the theory with Stephen Curry, Skip, where you have a puncher's chance. If you're hitting those perimeter shots, then all bets are off. Carmelo Anthony shoots, he shot less than 36% over his last 4 playoff games. He is struggling shooting the basketball from the field. I love Mike Woodson, and I think that he's done a tremendous job as head coach of the New York Knicks. But why is Carmelo Anthony defending David West at any time? This dude has muscles coming out of his ears. You want to keep somebody like that as far away from Carmelo Anthony as possible in terms of Carmelo having to defend him. Why do you start a small lineup along the lines of Raymond Felton and Pablo Prigioni? You know, I don't understand that. Why do you leave J.R. Smith in the game no matter how he's shooting? I don't get that either. I looked at J.R. Smith last 4-15 shooting, coming off a 3-14 shooting, coming off a suspended game 4, and you still feel like you are in love with this guy. I love J.R. Smith, too, but you got to know when to yank him because he's not Carmelo Anthony. We understand, no matter how Carmelo Anthony struggles, why you would feel the need to put him in a game outside of foul trouble. I don't understand the level of devotion and affection for J.R. Smith, other than the fact that he's loved by Jim Dolan, the owner, the CEO of MSG, the Knicks, Rangers, and everything else. It makes no sense to me. Now, that doesn't mean that Mike Woodson is not a great coach. It just means that, you know what? You have flawed afternoons. I believe yesterday was one of them. It better not happen in game 2, because if it happens in game 2, the New York Knicks will lose again. And if they lose game 2, Skip, we will be sitting up here on Wednesday morning talking about whether or not the New York Knicks are on the verge of getting swept in the playoffs in this second round series against the Indiana Pacers. So I would say, considering all those things I just threw out there, to answer the direct question from Kerry Champion,
yes.
Bottom line is the New York Knicks are in trouble.
Is the bottom line, I want you to go to gut feeling bottom line. The Knicks are done in this series because they lost game 1?
No. I don't ever believe anybody's done after game 1 unless you're
what is your head telling you?
Going up against the Miami Heat. I mean, I don't want to go that far. The New York Knicks can still win this series. Okay. You just have to play stellar basketball in order to do it. My gut tells me the New York Knicks will win Tuesday, okay? But that they will lose this series in 6 games because I expect them to get beat up.
So
but they
yesterday changed your pick from Knicks in 7 to Pacers in 6.
No. I've been very consistent in this respect. If the New York Knicks in order to win this series, it will take 7 games and them obviously hitting perimeter shots. I've been on the record saying that the Indiana Pacers are built better. They're younger, they're more physical, and playoff basketball, they're more suited for it, so they should beat the Knicks in the series. I'm just a New York Knicks fan, so I refuse to sit here from day 1 and say they're going to lose. They just didn't play well yesterday, and they better win Tuesday night.
I say even if they lose on Tuesday night, they will still win this series.
Wow.
7 games.
Good.
I think you're overreacting to what you saw yesterday because yesterday had more to do with emotions and energy than it had to do with basketball X's and O's.
Okay.
My takeaway was that the Knicks gave so much on Friday night in Boston, so much energy, so much emotion, overcame so much pressure, end of the world kind of pressure, because they were on the verge, as we all talked about, of becoming the first team in NBA history to blow 103, right, to blow the 3-0 lead. Stephen A., has a Knicks team for a long, long time been under more pressure than the Knicks were in Boston on Friday night against their hated rival?
No.
And they withstood a 20-0 late run, thanks in large part to Carmelo Anthony, who did come up big late. He hit 2 free throws to stave the run, then he hit a jump shot from 20 feet, and then he hit that dagger 3. And I was proud of him, and I think you were proud of him because they withstood, they survived. And then you know what happened? They basked. They said, we did it. They heaved a huge sigh of relief, and it didn't dawn on them until yesterday afternoon that just a day and a half later, a rough, tough, hungry team was waiting back at Madison Square Garden. They were not ready to play yesterday. I think you saw that.
Yes, I did.
And Indiana was beyond ready to play. And if Indiana is going to get these games from DJ Augustine that they got, he hits 5 out of 6 shots and 4 out of 5 threes. That's a career game from him.
Right there.
Lance Stevenson makes 5 out of 9 shots and has 13 rebounds. That's a career game from him. They will not duplicate that in game 2, 3, 4, 5, however many this goes.
I don't blame you for feeling that way. I'll even be on the record and tell you I hope you're right.
Right.
I give the Knicks a puncher's chance, and I sat there as a New York Knicks fan, and I said 7 games because I believe it could go tit for tat, and they'll go back and forth because there's 2 completely diverse different styles, and you'll go through that the first 6 games. But I want to throw out some stuff at you and just ask you what this stuff means to you, and bear with me for a second. You're the Indiana Pacers. You're the #2 overall ranked defense.
And they're #1 in a bunch of categories.
They are #1 in field goal percentage defense. They are #1 in three-point percentage defense. Where they struggle.
They're #1 in points in the paint defense.
That's right. Where they struggle is they will foul you. That's ranked 23 in terms of free throw percentage defense because they will allow you to get to the free throw line. Here's where it gets interesting. They will allow you to get to the free throw line, but you're playing up against a Knicks team that doesn't play the style of game that warrants you going to the free throw line. If you're launching 3-point shots all over the place, okay, and you're pulling up from the perimeter ad nauseum, you're not going to get calls. That's why even as a Knicks fan, even as a native New Yorker, unapologetically I might add, it annoys me when Knicks fans are complaining about no calls, when in fact you don't do very much to get calls. Okay? If you are an official, if you are a referee in a sport of NBA basketball, and you don't feel like going to work, and you want a day off, the Knicks are your team. They're the team you want to cover because you can get away without calling anything because they rarely attack the basket.
I thought Carmelo attacked and didn't get a lot of calls.
There were times yesterday he attacked it. But, Skip, you know this because like you've pointed out and I co-signed, you've covered the NBA for many years. If that ain't your recipe, if that ain't your signature, that's not what you do.
Rep.
Then if that's not your rep, it's not gonna come through for you when it matters most. The fact that you've been launching shots all year long and we've been raving about the New York Knicks launching 3-pointers and how there's snipers out there works against you come playoff basketball when you try to be a man and go down in the post against men who are accustomed to playing a man's game in that low post. And all of a sudden you're looking for help from the officials, you're not going to get it. That's the problem with the New York Knicks right here.